Welcome back, Tribe. Got one here from Martel, and he says, "What my dad taught me about women, he didn't believe him."
Credit
See,
my dad so much for teaching me about women at a very young age. And to be honest, the stuff that he was teaching me when I was young, I thought he was a villain. I didn't believe anything that he was saying because it sounded so outlandish at that time. Because I was imprinted by my own mom, right? I thought my mom was the angel, my dad was the devil. My dad's just telling me this stuff. My mom knows best because she's a woman. So obviously she's going to she's going to tell me a lot about what women truly want.
mm,
But it was opposite, right? My mom was telling me what women ideally want, but they don't necessarily accept in reality.
no
I started to learn that
response.
as I got older, as I was implementing what my mom was saying and I was not getting the results that I wanted. And I'd go to her and be like, Mom, you told me to do this and this happened. And she was like, oh, she might just be a bad one. My dad would just laugh on the side and look at me and say, Martel, you got a lot to learn, man. You still not listening to what I told you before? And it's crazy. And I give the utmost respect to my dad because my dad and my mom have been together for over 25 years, probably
Nice.
30 years at this point.
Nice.
And for a man to be able to command that level of loyalty to a woman, despite losing his mental capacity at a certain point through a brain aneurysm, and watching my mom pick up the slack and work for everybody while he couldn't. He literally forgot who he was for a certain period of time. Seeing my dad like go through the process and like show me how it really was to be a man in this world gave me so much clarity in life as I got older, as I started to remember everything that he told me. When I stopped rejecting what he said, thinking that he was a villain, and I started to embrace everything that he said. And I'll tell you some of those things that he told me as well. But my dad, again, he has a lot of proof because before my mom, he had harems of women all the time in the Haitian village, man. This dude was a G. Like he was out. He was doing his thing. Everyone talked about my dad. Everyone talked about my dad was that guy. And my mom was also that woman. Like my mom literally had the pick of the century, like doctors, lawyers, everybody was going for my mom. She stayed with my dad. And I started to realize that like this whole masculinity stuff, like the reason why a lot of men are lost right now is because they're born with single mothers. They don't have a father figure. And I was fortunate enough to have that so I could learn a lot of these things, especially about women. I remember one of the things he said that stuck with me. He's like, Martel, like, always look at what a woman does. Don't ever believe what she says. Women will lie to make themselves feel better. And I remember demonizing. I'm like, oh, so you're calling mom a liar. And I was like, why would you call mom a liar? He's like, listen, the reality is your mom is not lying. She's just doing what she thinks is right. She's saying what she thinks is right. But I know, judging by her actions, how she actually is. I know how to handle her based on what I've seen over the decades that we've been together. I've seen that. And every time I would have a woman around, he would be like, Martel, watch what she does, not what she says. And time after again, that truth would ring for me. I would always watch what they do. And everything they said could be the complete opposite of what they're doing. And that would allow for me to stay a couple steps ahead. Now, with my dad, it's interesting because he always, and a lot of the Haitian dads or just even, like male figures in your family in general, especially when it comes to the foreign side, they always think about like have multiple women, always have like 5 or 6 women around.
Damn.
And I remember my dad telling me, he was like, Martel, do that at a young age. Get that shit out of your system. But find one. Don't think that she's going to stay around forever because you always have to get better over time. You always have to keep improving. You always have to keep striving for more. You cannot stay stagnant, but keep that one. Don't fuck around when you get older because all of that, and he's a very religious guy. He was a pastor, right? And so he was like, look, Martel, I've been with your mom for the last 30 years. I've never cheated. And me and my dad got super tight. So like, he'd tell me things. Like he told me I used to smoke weed. I used to do this. I used to do that. His experiences with different women and stuff. And he was like, look, when I got with your mom, I never cheated because that's something that I have to deal with God. And I already made an agreement that I would never do that. It's not like we didn't make an agreement. We made an agreement. As a man, you follow your word. It doesn't matter how other women look. He was like, all women, they all have their own issues. They all have their own problems. Never take a woman as perfection because no woman is perfect. All women are walking headaches. You just got to pick the one that gives you the least amount of headaches that you can understand, that can support you, that can help you on your journey. That's what you want. If you don't have that, if there's no congruency in that, you're always going to lose. And he was like, you always have to have a good relationship with God because if you put God first, I didn't listen to this for a while, right? For a while, I didn't put God first because I didn't like the religious dogma and everything, but there's truth in that. You put God first, you serve God, right? Women will follow because you're the leader. Because as a man, and my dad told me this and it was so powerful, he was like, look, in a relationship as a man, you never look to women for advice most of the time for your life. And nobody else is going to tell you anything. Nobody cares about you as a man. Nobody cares. Women don't care. They can care about you as their person, but your internal struggles, all the things that you go through, the only person that's ever going to give you divine guidance is God. That's the only person you can go to in this life is God. That's it. That's the only person that can give you some divine order and tell you and give you some insights on what you need to be doing if you have a good relationship with God, which will make your relationship way more smooth if you can put God first. If you don't put God first, you will always fail. The woman will always leave you because you don't have a sense of leadership, because you don't have something, you don't have a divine order that you can channel to be able to help you. He's like, you're always a vessel. You're always giving. You're giving to the woman. You're giving to life. You're working. You're doing all these things. You're giving your energy. He said, as a man, you have to be able to refill that energy. You can't refill that energy from somebody else. He said, women refill their energy from you. They always refill their energy from you. But you have to refill your energy from God because that's the only source that can give you energy. He always told me, he was like, I never trust atheists. I'll never ever be with a woman who doesn't believe in God. Because the minute that you do that, she has no moral compass. She will go do whatever it is that she wants to do because there's no reckoning in her mind. There's no consequence. And I learned that because I did date women who didn't believe in God. And it was true. They had no moral compass. Everything they did was justified. It's crazy. And he would tell me all these things. He would go into like sexual things. Like, what do you have to be dominant? And I would be like, Dad,
For a
you
pastor?
sound like a villain. Why would I want to be dominant and say like, oh, like you're mine, like claim her, do all of these things. Women want to be claimed, like do that. And again, my dad was not aggressive. He never hit my mom. Never seen my dad lay a hand on my mom ever, no matter how mad she made him. He just laughed that shit. He would get mad and then he'd just start laughing. He'd be like, what the fuck? He'd be like, why do I even care? He'd look at me, he'd be like, Martel, do you see this? And my mom would get mad. And I would notice these different things. And he just taught me like how to.
I gotta say, having a father present is so big, and I know we're living in a society where fatherlessness homes are exploding. A lot of kids are just born without a father in the household, not knowing who daddy is and all this stuff, and it really does a number on the man growing up and the daughter. I mean, the outcomes are horrible, but to have a father that can teach you about women, that actually knows about women, because it's not even enough to just have a father in the household if he's a simp. There are many guys that were raised by absolutely weak men, and the outcome is damn near the same. The only thing you get from having a weak father is like stability, right? He's just a solid wallet that makes sure he's bringing home money, and you have a stable home environment, financially speaking, of course, compared to a single mother home. The issue is, though, he could be completely clueless about women and give you the wrong advice, and then you can grow up mimicking what looks like an abusive relationship, and you think that's normal. Your father getting yelled at, looked at as if he's incompetent, used for his wallet, never says no, it like absolutely spineless, is like 2 fucking nights away from blowing his own top off. And you grow up seeing that and you think that's normal. So when you get into a relationship with a woman, like, you accept less. You accept your boundaries being crossed. You take a woman in that you shouldn't. You pay for her mistakes. You get walked all over and you get used like a simp. And then you end up just repeating what happened to your father, like, happy wife, happy life. Let me ask my wife if I could go out with the guys today. Let's check in on the wife and see what she says. I think I would like green for this wall, but my wife is going to want beige. Let me check in. Let me check in. I saw this shit all the time when I was doing remodeling and construction for people in their homes. Like, dudes had to check in for every little thing with their wives, bro. You had no balls left. You had them in a vice. Like, your testicles were removed. Not having a father is one major way, probably one of the biggest predictors to a man ending up being a simp.
Deal with it. And I never, ever believed anything that he said until I got older,
Because, and look, I hate to interrupt again, but where you get your information of what a man is, without having one is media, like whether social media, movies, or music. And if you listen to music today, let's just say you listen to rap or whatever that the kids listen to today. Well, the rap today shows women being absolute street queen sloozies, and the men are talking about tricking. Tricking, another word for paying for puss, another word for buying her shit, buying her expensive gifts, iced out watches, trips around the world, shit like that. So your rappers are simping drug addict losers today, as an example. Then you got movies perpetuating the whole man's a simp, he's a loser, he's incompetent, head down, never masculine, never authoritative, right? Never initiating, always acting like a bitch, and a woman leads the way. The woman's a superhero. The woman's beating up 3 different guys in movies. She's the lead character. Get the fuck out of here. Doesn't work like that in the real world. But then men will simp for shit like that because they're brought up to think that that's normal. So that's why you see guys in like that play video games or watch anime or whatever, the strong boss female character. These guys are enamored with it because they grew up with a weak man or no man present. And then media told them that this is what they should look for, a bossy, demanding woman with masculine energy, and that should somehow be normal. I mean, there's like viral videos of chicks punching those like punching bag power machines and punching them with good force for a woman. And then like all the comments below are simpy men like, she could beat me up. Like little memes, like GIFs of men washing dishes or like going and starting vacuuming and shit. It's like, cause a chick managed to punch a fucking punching bag machine. Like this is where how little masculinity you have left. It's sad to see, dude. It's proliferating. That's why we say we have a simp epidemic. Do you know why we have a simp epidemic? Because we have a single parent household epidemic, single mother epidemic. Single mothers raise simps. They're predatory. They turn their sons into simps because there's no man present. So they need to create a simp to save them. And they do it at the detriment of their own son, to their son.
I started to see all of these truths that he was saying was correct. Until when I started being with 5 or 6 women at a time, my whole life would be chaotic. I'd feel like my energy was drained. And then when I would stick with one, if I stuck with a bad one, it would completely ruin my life. If I got with a pretty good one, a pretty solid one, I don't want to say good, but solid, my life would go up. And I would always talk to my dad and he'd start chuckling. He'd be like, remember what I told you back when you were 12 and you didn't believe me? How is all of that panning out? And I'm like, Dad, you were 100% right. Like I used to be the guy like, oh, the lover, right? Like you bring flowers on the first date. My mom told me, my mom was like, oh, Martel, go bring flowers on the first date. It's like the most romantic thing you could do. My dad would sit back, start laughing and say, Mon Dieu, which means good God. Like, and then he would literally say like, why would you ever bring something on the first? She hasn't proven herself to you. Why would you bring anything on the first date? And I remember as I started learning these different things, my whole relationships got different. Like my whole viewpoints on women got different. Sexually, it became way easy. It became easy for me to like dominate in that field and like have the woman like feel attached because of like all of the principles he taught me, and there's deeper things he taught me in terms of specific eye contact you do and all. Like my dad was an OG when it came to this stuff, and he would break down some of the most visceral taboo topics to me. And at the time, I thought he was literally the devil incarnated, even though he was a pastor. I'm like, oh, you're crazy. And as I started to slowly implement things, it worked. My dad always instilled in me, Martel, you want to get women attracted to you, get in shape. My dad used to bodybuild. My dad had vascular, he's 5'9", I'm 6'2". I got a pretty good, I got the tall gene from my mom. My mom's 5'7".
Damn.
Now, my dad always looked like a superhero. Like I literally loved seeing my dad come back from the gym, crazy pump. He put some French cologne on. He picked my mom up. He would just act crazy and like he just didn't care. He just lived his life. He would say things that would piss my mom off, but I would see my mom look at him a certain way, like I love you even more because at least you're honest. He would say that. He would say, oh, you got to walk more. If my mom started like looking a little different, he'd be like, you got to start walking more. Not looking the way that I remember. Like he would be very, very viscerally honest. And he just didn't give a fuck. Didn't care. Just lived his life. Lived life as best as he could. And he had a very loyal woman by his side. And a lot of people will sit here and say that shit doesn't exist. And I say, it might actually exist if you become the man that's worth being loyal to. You may say, well, no woman is loyal forever. Of course not. You have to keep getting better over time. And one thing my dad told me as well, he said, Martell, never think love is forever. Love is fleeting. Love is not real. Love is an emotion that goes away over time. And I didn't believe this when I was young. I always said, Dad, love is real. You see Disney, because I used to watch fucking Disney and Nickelodeon and shit.
Yep.
And they would have all these love stories and all that shit. And I would believe it. My dad literally was like, Martell, because he would watch it with me. He'd sit there and he'd just laugh. He'd say, Martell, this is not real. Love is just an emotion. Loyalty is a decision that you make every single day. You make that decision. The woman makes that decision every single day. And your job as a man is to make it undeniable for a woman to have her loyalty for just you. Every single day you have to prove that shit. And I remember even looking when he had his brain aneurysm, my dad literally could not work. He couldn't do anything. And you would think, well, a man who stops making money, a man who loses all of his physique, all of his shape, well, now the woman's gone. My mom stayed and took care of him even more. My mom went and worked 3 jobs while my dad was literally sitting on the bed like his head would be inflamed, could barely remember his name. I'll never forget that shit. And my dad literally told me.
That's real. And you'll never get this kind of love if you don't put in some self-work and get yourself to the point where the woman you are with finds you attractive genuinely like this. In order to get genuine attraction from a woman, look, we live in an era where people are bombarded with like peak absolute most attractive individuals on social media. So the standards have gone up dramatically. You're never going to be a model. Fine. We all understand. You won't be perfect. You won't be 6'8". But what you can be is the best version of yourself, as cringe as that sounds. And I'm saying you have to be at your peak. Like no beer belly, no fucking gut, no out of shape, no wheezing, walking upstairs, sweating, sitting down, no looking disgusting with fucking toe jam and jacked up facial beard. Bro, you can't. Today, you can't get by on that shit anymore. You can go to a third world country and maybe get by on that shit. If you want to do that, go ahead. And even then, you're having to leverage the equivalent of deep pockets in their society to get by all that. If you do your best and you really do take care of your mind, body, and spirit, you can land a woman. I'm talking internationally also, not just domestic if you're planning on staying in the States. I don't recommend it personally, but fine. Some guys are not leaving, period. They'll be buried there. Okay, great. Now, if you do go overseas and all that stuff, if you worked on your body, if you get yourself in shape, if you take care of business, man, if you start to earn some good money, you truly invest in yourself, women come after. Like the point of investing in yourself is to be able to enjoy your life on this planet to the best that you possibly, to the absolute peak. Why would you want to live life at a base level? You're telling me your shitty job, your empty fucking brain, your empty pockets collecting lint, like you're okay living mediocrity, like because most people live below their potential. Like it's true. Most guys are like, if you looked in the mirror truly and asked yourself, am I living up to my potential? 99% of people will say absolutely not. You could do so much more and that you choose not to. So then you accept the mediocrity. I'm only saying, and what most men discover is that when you stop living beneath your potential, where you stop breaking promises to yourself and you start to live authentic to your highest potential that you possibly could, finding your purpose in the world, doing things that are difficult, holding yourself accountable, stuff like this, incredible doors start to open up all around you. And that includes women. And the women that actually come into your vicinity are quality women that you would like to spend the rest of your life with. Now, you can choose to skip all the hard work and get a passport and go overseas, and you can land something that's maybe good enough for you. But will it ever be this raw primal attraction? Don't know. That just depends how much money you're willing to dangle in front like the carrot, you know? So, and some guys don't care. It depends. You know, some guys are like 50, 60 something years old and they're cool doing it the transactional way. You know, they'll go overseas, get them a nice woman half their age. She treats them right because they're spending money, but most men don't want to be in that position. They want somebody that actually cares about them, someone that actually wants to be around them, next to them, that enjoys their presence, that it doesn't have to be transactional like this. It exists, but only when you reach that level with yourself. Some guys have it easier. Yes, genetics play a role. Duh. Some guys are born with that level of potential and they don't have to work at all. They don't even have to have anything at all. Because congratulations, you won the genetic lottery. But not all of us win the genetic lottery. We're not all fucking Brad Pitt. So can't just look at a woman and her panties drop. It's true. We all have to work harder than the most genetically blessed among us. That's always been the case. But that shouldn't dissuade you from trying. And it's not necessarily for women. Like, don't you want to be strong? Don't you want to be shredded? Don't you want clear skin? Like, don't you want a nice sharp beard if you can grow one? Don't you want healthy blood panel? Like when you go get tested at the doctor, don't you want to come across like squeaky clean and super healthy? You want to live a long life to enjoy your life, don't you? Without having to be on a handful of medication just to keep you going day to day. Like this stuff is more important than any woman ever. It just, women are a byproduct of this kind of self improvement for a man. You see how he describes his old man? Dude, that guy was an alpha male at 5'9" or whatever he was. And he got a woman that was like taller than he was. Because the dude was jacked, shredded, didn't care, had the personality to match, wasn't always worried about my height, wasn't worried about how fat he was because he wasn't. He took care of his body. He ate good, worked out hard. Mind was clear, sharp, everything. And look at the kind of woman he got, despite having a brain aneurysm and not remembering his own name and stuff like that. Like, as the red pill would have you believe, she would have left, she would have cheated, no, women this. Well, you mean it's just not true. Unfortunately, it is for 80% of men. Because why? Probably 80% of men are living far beneath their potential. And that's the truth, dude. Let's be honest. What'd you eat today? What'd you eat in the last week? Did you eat some bad food you shouldn't have ate? Did you go to the gym like you should every day? Every other day, at least? Were you active? Did you walk around? Come on, man.
He's like, the only thing that you need to worry about is whenever you're down, always bounce back. And he did that. Bounced back and got a business administration degree at ASU quick, just like that. Just like that. I watched my dad move from Haiti. He was a big professor in Haiti at a university, lost his degree, came here when I was 4. I didn't have my dad till I was 4 years old, 5 years old. And I remember him coming and the whole presence of the house changed. Everything changed. My mom was just like, whoa. And my dad just was this walking force. Everyone loved my dad. My dad was the most social person in the world, but he also held boundaries with people. He didn't care who you were. He didn't care if you were the president of the United States. You talk shit to him, he's going to do something. He's going to react. And he always said, Martel, don't let people walk on you. Don't let women walk on you. Check them. Don't check them physically, but check them psychologically. Check them with how you see it. Check them with what you've observed. And I would always take this in, man. Like, and that's why I think you see a lot of men who hit women. I always ask my dad, I'm like, I hear these things about guys hitting their wives and stuff like that. Why do you think that is? And I remember him saying, because, Martel, they're hyper-emotional beings. They're hyper-emotional when it comes to women.
They're weak.
They love hard. And they also, when they have anger, they lean into that anger and they lose.
Yeah, they're weak. If your woman can rattle you emotionally to the point that you get physical, congratulations. You're the one that got manipulated. The fact that your woman even has that much psychological power over you just shows how poor self-control or how poor your self-control is in relation. Can you imagine, like, we preach are supposed to be this like stable rock that doesn't move, weathers the storm, nothing affects them, always bouncing back. And then imagine your woman talking some shit, hitting you where it hurts, maybe jabbing you with something personal, and it gets to you somehow. And you lose the aura of the invincible rock that cannot be crushed, no matter how big the wave. That's how you're supposed to be. Men don't have that level of mental fortitude because they didn't have fathers present to see how a man should be reacting to a woman that's getting a bit lively in the house. If you're raised in a Balkan household, then you know how dramatic Balkan women are. And you learn by seeing your father how he playfully tunes that shit out and how it doesn't bother him and all that. And then you're able to survive, for example, dating a Balkan woman with like fiery attitude. Guys will tell you that's dated around the Balkans what it's like. It's like Latinas on hard mode. But when you're raised in a household where your old man is just like deflecting, dodging, and letting that shit roll off his shoulder and it doesn't bother him whatsoever and always diffusing the situation with ease, you're able to reproduce that in any relationship that you're in. But if you're not raised in a household like that and your father caves or your father wasn't even present and then you're the one that takes all that abuse potentially as a kid, as a boy, and then as a teenager, and then as a man, and then you can understand how a guy can come so damaged into the dating field that he gets absolutely torn apart by women. What it is. That's why men accept so much abuse, dude. Is because they either watch their fathers or they themselves were at the heels of the reckoning of their mothers.
Control, and they attack the woman because they're hyper emotional. He said always, and I keep this to this day. I forgot that I got this from him, but I remember him telling me, he was like, Martel, stay away from hyper emotional people. Hyper emotionality is for women, not for men.
Yep.
Women are hyper emotional. Men should never be hyper emotional. You should always have your emotions in check. You should never ever feel like you need to hit a woman. You should never feel like you need to inflict any sort of violence towards a woman whatsoever. And he lived by that completely. My dad didn't spank me a lot when I was young. He only did it because my mom would tell him to. He'd be like, oh, okay, take out the belt. I know I'm fucked. I'm like, man, I gotta. He said, go to the room. I go to the room, man. It's a wrap for me. My dad hit me. It was wrath. It's brutal. But he taught me a lot, man. He taught me a lot about this life. And I will say, the reason why I had a lot of pitfalls with women, even with humans, with business, with everything, is because I didn't take those lessons seriously until I started to actually try them in micro details and started to see real results happen. Now, my dad is hyper religious. Me and him, we don't see eye to eye with the way that he looks at religion, right? Of course, there's differences. But I do know my dad has significant respect for me because I lived my own life since 19. I took my own burdens. I paid my way through as much as I possibly could. I never asked my parents for $1. I always made things work. And my dad was very, very proud to see that. And it's funny because there would be times I would bring women home or like, you know, I would show my dad some women. He'd be like, nope, she's cooked. She's done. So you're going to see. I remember, I'll never forget when I told my dad about this woman and he asked me some questions and he was like, Martell, I'm giving you 1 year. And I kid you not, bro. After 1 year, broke completely down. I'm telling you, fellas, if you didn't have a father at home, at least take some of the things that I'm telling you now, as basic as they may sound, they actually help. But I had a father at home.
It's basic until you don't have a father at home. Then you find this shit out 20 years into a divorce and then learning what it was really like. My dad never taught me game. I had to learn the hard way. You're fortunate. Yeah, there you go. Fathers are usually appreciated after they're gone. Yep. All women are walking headaches. You have to choose a woman that gives you the least headache and support you. Honestly, you just have to pick a woman that adds to your life. It doesn't take away. End of story. It seems rare. It seems like you're always sacrificing to have a woman, but believe me, you don't. Actually, you don't. It's just most guys have invested in a woman that's like half broken that they don't want to let that go, or sunk cost fallacy. And I can never do better than this, I guess. I mean, I should try to work this one out and maybe one day she'll change. You know, kind of the same bullshit women do when they nab a guy that they shouldn't, they know they can't hold on to. But hey, horniness, man, makes people do stupid shit. This is dead ass. When I was growing up, my big brother had all the girls and used to tell me the truth about them and their nature. I used to tell him, nah, man, they're angels from heaven. They should be treated as such. Disney, see? LMAO, I couldn't have been any more further from the truth. Yeah. My dad met my ex, called me back and asked, are you with her due to lack of options? I didn't need no explanation. I fixed up and now married to the best headaches I could ever have. Wow. A good episode. A lot of truth in there. If you want to watch it fully, links in the description as usual. Take care of yourselves, boys. Share this kind of knowledge with your kids. They need it. Young men especially.